Hey guys, it's Henry and welcome back to today's video. I know you've expected a sweater vest crocheting tutorial. You will get this, but I thought I'm gonna switch things up this time by doing a little mukbang, a German edition mukbang. As you might know, I'm German myself and I love bread. That's why I brought some bread and some other things to put on the bread. And while I'm eating, I'm gonna explain how I did this sweater vest.
Oh, yeah. Purple, yellow, and
red. But first of all, you guys, can we talk about this preparation? I mean, this must be probably a 10 out of 10 preparing a mukbang for this video. I've even brought a goddamn toaster. I'm gonna put this sweatshirt, actually the sweater vest on so you guys can always see it while I'm eating. I probably regret this because I might see this coming that I completely ruin it. My Pinterest is currently or lately full of sweater vests, so I decided to actually do one for myself, and here I am explaining you guys how I did that. For the materials, I'm using a worsted light-weighted yarn. As well, I'm using a 4mm hook and some wool needles. I started the ribbing by chaining up 3, then I yarn over and put my hook through the first loop of the 3 chains. And then I yarn over, pull my yarn through, and then I have 3 strands or 3 loops on my hook. Then I yarn over and pull the yarn through only the first loop, creating my next loop for my next stitch. Then I yarn over again, pulling the yarn through my first 2 loops. I yarn over again, finishing up my double crochet, pulling my hook through the last 2 loops. This is my first stitch actually, and then I repeat the process, building up a chain for my ribbing. You're gonna continue this process or this stitch as long as you want to have your waistband. I think my chain is 72 stitches long, which is approximately 48 centimeters. So when you have finished your first row, you chain up 2, then you yarn over and go through the back post and do a double crochet. So you go through the first post by going behind it, you yarn over, pull the yarn through, you yarn over again and pull your yarn through the first 2 loops, then you yarn over again and finish up your double crochet. And then you repeat the process, but this time not going in your back post, you only go in your front post. So you always switch up with back post, front post, back post, front post, and then you with a double crochet. So you continue this process with front post, back post, front post, back post, all the way through your first row, building your second row. When you've reached the end, you chain up 2 again and you double crochet in either the front post or back post to align your first row. So you will see, you will get like a pattern that you have front posts and back posts, and you want to align this pattern by chaining up 2, turn your work and do either the front post or back post. It depends what's coming up first on your chain. And you're gonna repeat this process until you've reached 6 rows, because, well, I did 6 rows for my ribbing, and then you are done with the ribbing. You guys, this bread even has carrots in it. This is so German. For this one, I'm gonna put some hummus on it because I love hummus. You probably know that I'm fully eating vegan since almost 2 years now, and I really like it. So on my bread I'm gonna put some hummus, and this is the shit. You definitely have to try it, and it's probably the most German thing you can do. You're gonna put sauerkraut on top of your bread with hummus. It is so delicious. with a little bit of olive oil. I do not have olive oil here, but I can fully recommend putting olive oil on top of this as well. With hummus, it is so good. You definitely have to try this out. This is so good. Okay, so as for the front part, so you need this ribbings 2 times. So make sure to have this 2 times. But then you start your front row or your front panel of your sweater vest by chaining up 2 of your ribbing, and then you turn your work, of course, and double crochet in the first 2 loops actually. And you're gonna continue this double crochet through every 2 loops on your row until you have reached the end. You chain up 2 and you turn your work and you start all over double crocheting all the way through. And when you have reached the 26th row, you've reached like the body part where you are gonna have your armholes. So this is approximately 37 centimeters of the body part, including, of course, the ribbing. So for this, I can fully recommend to measure yourself again and use your own pattern of like a sweater that fits you very well, and use these measurements. When you have reached your desired length where you want to have your arms to start, so next you're gonna attach 2 stitch markers to that specific row, defining how wide you want to have your armholes or how big you want to have your armholes. In my case, I did 17 stitches from each side. In order to reach that stitch marker, I'm gonna slip stitch my way through. You do that by putting your hook through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull the yarn through the loop. You continue that slip stitch until you've reached obviously your first stitch marker. From there on, you're gonna normally continue your process by double crocheting your way through. And when you reached the end of, or when you reached the second stitch marker, you just chain up 2, turn your work and continue your process. But before you do that, when you've reached the first row of your chest part, you make sure that you put a stitch marker in the middle of the first row of your chest part, because this is where you want to start your V-neck. For this, I crocheted until the middle, until I've reached the stitch marker. And then I began to decrease my stitches, building up the V. When you've reached the stitch marker, you chain up 2, you turn your work, and then you don't go in the first 2 loops, you skip the first 2 loops and go directly in the second 2 loops of your stitch. And then you double crochet all the way back to your armhole, then you chain up 2 and turn your work, double crochet all the way back to your V-neck part. And this is like the most important thing to decrease, is to stop at the last 2 loops. So this is actually how you decrease your double crochet. You yarn over, you put your hook through the first 2 loops on your chain, then you yarn over, pull the yarn through, you have 3 loops on your hook, you yarn over, you pull the yarn through to the first 2 loops only, you yarn over, search for the next 2 loops on your chain, put your hook through, you yarn over, you have 4 loops on your hook, you yarn over, and then you pull the yarn through the first 2 loops only, you have 3 loops on your hook left, and then you yarn over and pull the yarn through all 3 loops on your hook, and this is how you decrease your double crochet. And then you chain up 2, you turn your work, and don't put your yarn in the first 2 loops. When you start your next double crochet row, you go directly into the second 2 loops. And then you're gonna continue this process until you've reached your desired width of your shoulder. I had like 10 stitches left. I think 10 or 11 stitches, which make up 8 centimeters for the shoulder part. And in the end, I wanted to have it a little bit longer. You have to check on yourself, on your body measurements, how long it has to be until you reach the shoulder. But I wanted to have it a little bit longer, so I stopped decreasing in the last 2 rows and just did 2 normal double crochet rows in the end. When you've reached this, you close up your first body part by simply chaining up 1 and pull your yarn through and cut it off, and this is how you close it actually. I think I'm gonna get some olive oil because this is so good with olive oil. Okay, I'm back with the oil. I'm gonna pour a little bit of oil. It is so good. So in order to finish up your front part of your sweater vest, you're gonna probably want to do the second leap for your v-neck. And for this, you do the same exact process. You're gonna attach a new thread to the middle section of your v-neck and start crocheting, and you start right away by decreasing, actually not decreasing but chaining up 2, and not go into the first loop and the first 2 loop. You just directly double crochet in the second 2 loop to decrease your first stitch already a little bit, and then you go all the way back to your arm holes, chain up 2, and continue this process decreasing until you've reached the same length. So for the back part, you're gonna do exact the same process as I did for the front part, or as we did for the front part, until you have reached the 26th row of double crochets where we're gonna put our arm holes. So you're gonna do exact the same process with the ribbing. Then you chain up 2 from the ribbing and start double crocheting all the way up 26 rows until you have reached 37 centimeters or your desired length. And then you put your stitch markers again at the 17th stitch. Then it's the same exact process. You're gonna slip stitch until you reach the stitch marker. And then you chain up 2, and then you start your double crochet until you reach the other side of your stitch marker. You chain up 2, turn your work, you double crochet until you've reached the last 2 rows of your back part. You can always align your back part with the front part and see how many rows you have left to crochet. But when you've reached the last 2 rows, you stop, because then you need some stitch markers again, and you want to align and build like the little collar, the neck part of your back part. So for this, you just put your stitch markers at that spot depending on how many stitches you have left on your shoulder section. I had 10 stitches left for my shoulder section, so that means I wanted to decrease in the last 2 rows 2 stitches. That means I want to put my stitch marker into this 12th stitch on each side. So when you have found the spots where you want to put your stitch markers, you chain up 2, of course, and start your first row of the one leap of your back shoulder part, and you double crochet until you've reached the last 2 loops. When you've reached the last 2 loops, you're gonna decrease again. And as I showed you, you're gonna decrease, and then you chain up 2, and then you put your next double crochet in the second double loops and not in the first loops. And then you go all the way back, finishing up the first leap of your back part. When you have done both of your parts, you want to attach them. What I can recommend is to do the shoulder parts first before closing the sides. So I turned my work inside out. I put the 2 parts, the back part and the front part, together on top, and I single crocheted the shoulder parts together. I can fully recommend to put it on, guys, first. So I wasn't confident with the size. I recognized that the leaps underneath my armpits were too wide. So I decided to sew them together a little bit tighter. By the way, this combination with cream cheese and avocado is really good as well. So what's only left is decorating your v-neck and your arm parts. And for this I'm using a simple single crochet, which is super easy actually. So what I did is I attached my yarn in the pointy end of my v-neck and started single crocheting all the way through my collar, using every hole I can find. I continued this process until I've reached 3 rows in total with white. And then I added the blue. I don't know, I really like the color of this blue. And guys, it fits my shoe. So I finished up the 3 rows of white yarn and then closed it, of course, and attached a new yarn with the blue and did 2 more rows. Closed this again and then I added another row of white. When you add the V, you make sure to decrease your stitch at the V, because that will make it more pointy, and I forgot it sometimes, so it's like, yeah, it's looking like this right now. So I did this same thing for the arm parts as well. So what I did, I single crocheted 3 rows of the white, 2 rows of the blue, and 1 row of the white again, and then I closed it. Alright guys, this is like the final result of the sweater vest, and I'm so happy with the result. So if you guys want to recreate this sweater vest or like do it in your own version, then please share your results on my social media. You can just send it or DM me a picture, and I would be very happy to see all your results. And if you have some feedback, then leave them in the comments below, of course. And if you like this video, then make sure to give it some thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more DIY videos in the future. And if you haven't checked me out on my social media yet, you can do this over here. I'm currently super active on Twitter, so you have to check me out on Twitter as well. I'm tweeting like lots of bullshit, but it's super fun. And of course on TikTok, I'm posting DIY videos almost every day on TikTok. So yeah, I hope you guys really liked this video, and I can't wait to be back in the next video. So I'm out. See you guys soon. Ciao.
Purple, yellow, and red.